Welcome to Tech News Briefing. It's Tuesday, August 1st. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Apple's cloud-based family sharing system is designed in part to give parents more control over when and how their kids use devices. Parents can remotely restrict apps and adult content, and set times when kids can't use their iPhones, iPads, or iPod Touches. But when parents use their own iPhones to set these limitations, they're finding the changes don't stick. Our family and tech columnist Julie Jargon is here to discuss what's happening. So Julie, tell us a little bit more about the problem parents are finding with family sharing.
Well, parents are really frustrated because every time they try to set up settings for their kids' devices on their own phones, they find that the settings are not sticking. And sometimes it takes them a couple of days, sometimes weeks to discover this because the kids aren't exactly raising their hands and saying, hey, I've got unlimited screen time. Sometimes parents are tipped off by the fact that they're not receiving requests for more screen time. And so that prompts them to go look into the settings and find that there are no restrictions at all.
What has Apple said about this issue?
Well, back in May, Apple acknowledged the bug when they released iOS 16.5. They reported that they had fixed a bug that had to do with screen time settings resetting or not syncing across all devices. However, it has not actually been fixed because I spoke to a lot of parents and we did our own testing, which shows that even in the latest software update and in the new public beta of iOS 17, these problems are still occurring. So I went to Apple, and what they said is that they are aware that some users are experiencing issues with screen time settings unexpectedly resetting. And they said that they take these reports very seriously and will continue making updates to improve the situation.
You've been speaking to parents who've been dealing with this problem. Can you tell us a little bit about their experience in trying to set limits and maybe having this backfire or just not stick for them?
Yeah, the parents I spoke to are really frustrated. Some of them have been reaching out to Apple in recent months and not finding a solution. Some parents have been told to do a factory reset of their phones. They've been trying all these things and it hasn't been working. And in some cases, some of the other safety settings, like the little check mark you can enable to restrict adult content on websites, has been turned off. And that has parents concerned that their kids might be coming across inappropriate content while they're online. So I talked to one father in New Jersey who has two kids, ages 10 and 13. He checked their screen time settings and saw that the downtime limits he had established were gone. And some kids have found workarounds to their parents' controls. And in his case, he is certain that his kids did not find some sort of a hack around what he had set up. They didn't know his password, but he changed the passcode just to be sure. And the problem still continued to happen. And so he would go for a couple of weeks and things seemed to be working fine. Other times he said he had to reset the settings 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, I mean, this may seem obvious to some listeners, I guess, but why is it so important for parents to be able to set these sort of limits?
Well, parents can't monitor what their kids are doing on their devices 24/7. So you want to be able to trust that the time limits you set for your kids to be on their devices and the content restrictions you enable are working properly so that you don't have to constantly be telling your kids it's time to get off your devices and taking them away. That creates a lot of tension in some households. And parents don't want to be the bad guy. If they're setting up times when the device is basically shut off or certain apps are disabled, it really eliminates a lot of those kind of fights, if you will.
Are there workarounds that parents are finding?
One of the things people can do is set the time limits on the kids' devices themselves. That seems to be working. It's worked for me. However, if you have multiple kids or kids with multiple devices, that can be a bit cumbersome. Other parents have found other workarounds which are also clunky, one of which is to use your router to set a time when the internet shuts off at night. Other parents are turning to third-party apps which do screen time management on Apple devices. Those can be very expensive. And some parents are deciding to switch to Android devices.
That's our family and tech columnist, Julie Jargon. And that's it for today's Tech News Briefing. If you want more tech stories, check out our website, WSJ.com. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.